What is happening, everybody? I hope you've had a good...
Back in like 2005, something like that.
I think my first con was so good. It's Friday Junior.
It's Friday Junior, it's podcast day, it's payday.
And if you come out doing a like, doesn't matter how you feel about the situation.
My name is Raff, and always before we start the podcast, because we just want to talk about it. We want to talk about music, we just share those stories and experience. This is my co-host, Carl, aka the BeerBuddy. He is hailing you.
This sort of weird era where they're sort of right in that post-grunge.
Look, your fight is a good fight in today's world. My war was fought 40 years ago, really.
We are the two dudes who talk music, and we are here. Hey, I'm too quick on that air horn button, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, that is amazing. I love it. You're second on the dude. Fantastic.
What is happening, everybody? It is me, the Reverend Raff, and I'm here with my good friend Kyle, aka the BeerBuddy. We are the two dudes talk music, and we're here for another podcast with you, mate. How you doing? How you been?
Man, I'm really good. Ramadan was on the weekend, and it was just pumping. Like, it's getting really good response there. Everything's been good.
Good.
Bands are selling merch. From what I've seen there, it's just everything's There's the scene in Southwest Sydney is thriving at the moment. How about you? How have you been going?
Mate, I'm fucking exhausted. I've been out in the garden all day. I was out in the garden on the weekend, rather, digging in, trying to put the fucking hedge in that I got.
Oh, yeah.
So that was, I only had the trees ripped out months ago. But no, the garden bed looks a lot better now that there's actually something in there, which is nice.
That's good.
Been obviously upgrading the setup here, with the new
toys.
New toys, new microphones here, new camera, new computer, and all of that good stuff. That's been pretty good, man. We've just been cruising, going along, getting it done. But look, mate, let's get into this one. So we got a band today that I actually saw the other week at a festival up this way. You've seen them as well there.
Yep.
They've been doing the rounds a little bit, making some waves, which is good. They've been, despite being relatively new in terms of getting out there and playing shows and not having too many under their belt as a group, they've already been up and down the coast, which is good. And they got plans to head, I believe from our chat that we have with them, they got plans to head out west a little bit as well later this year. So that's awesome. So there's plenty of opportunities to catch these guys coming up. Today we have with us Asura from Sydney, amazing black metal band. Let's dive into it. Thank you very much for joining us. As I said, how have you guys been? How have you been doing? I understand you guys just got back from rehearsal.
Yeah. Doing well.
Yes. Yeah, doing good.
Awesome. How was the rehearsal?
Yeah, it was good.
I mean, we're making a lot of new progress on new songs and, just keeping tight.
Good.
Getting
ready for next week. Yeah.
Love to see it. Now, I did catch you guys recently, actually, at Nowhere Fest. I was down at that one, so it was a great show all around. I think everyone did a really, really good job, and you guys were like definitely a standout, which was great.
Cheers.
It was a hell of a show all around. Like I said, though, I mean, we had a jazz band in metal and fucking like dudes up there and people up there in full leather armor, and we had like everything. It was great.
Shinagua play up there.
Yeah. So it's I love the love the energy that you guys are bringing to the stage. It's a nice it's look, I'm not deep into the different types of black metal and the various sort of combinations of subgenres there, but it was, I really, really enjoyed it. I liked the show that you guys put on, and I had a really great time. So just wanted to put that out there. How was the trip up and back for you guys for that show?
Fucking awful.
We all made we pretty much all made our own way, except for
Yeah, it was basically like planes, trains, and automobiles. Essentially, we all went in different vehicles by land and by
you took the train, didn't you?
I did. It was either that or by boat, and I don't own a boat, so it was train. Yeah.
So you just hop on one of the ones that just drop the people off. You hop on that and just pay half the money to go around and back.
Yeah, that's right. There's nice Indonesian men that just come up and down the coast, dropping off a lot of people.
Might even get some free crack.
Yeah, I was held hostage for 3 days. That was interesting.
So getting the train up and back, that must have. Did you have to lug much with you for that one?
No. I'm a microphone and some clothes and the merch, which isn't that much right now, so it wasn't that bad at all. It was mainly just trying to keep entertained on the train. So I finished the book in that time and just chilled out for the rest of it.
Yeah,
It would have been a nice bit of time to reflect before the show.
Oh, for sure. Before and after. For the 3 hours that I spent in Brisbane or however long I was there. It was just, I was more.
So you just came up, did the show, then hopped straight back on the train again?
No. I did stay overnight, but I think I was asleep for more time than awake while in Brisbane. It's just,
It was a struggle getting you out of the house when we had to check out of the Airbnb.
I woke up before everybody else, dude. I'd left first.
Yeah, you got that.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not for getting out, for the show.
Really?
Like,
that was
half an hour before the show was like we had to get to the show. And he's still laying in bed. I'm sticking my head in, going like, "Wake the fuck up! We got places to be."
And then,
I mean, like, fair enough, you were tired, but man, you sleep like a baby.
you only say that because I shit the bed. So,
I mean, I can't imagine it's very pleasant to try to get much sleep on the train coming up.
Even those CountryLink ones, they're not the most comfortable things in the world. Let's be honest.
It was fairly spacious, but I think next time I'll do what Mitch did and get a plane.
Yeah, hour each way, easy.
Through the roof on that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're
it's a much shorter trip,
if you're a member of APRA AMCOS, you get free luggage allowance with Virgin, I think.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that helps you get
66 kilos. Virgin and Qantas.
Oh,
you can get some extra stuff, so that makes it a lot easier for you.
Yeah,
especially
for sure.
for digital, that's pretty much your whole rig. Like if you go digital. Wow.
Yeah.
One
Only
thing
problem is then you're taking a box of wires through carry-on like scanners and
it's a foot pedal, not a dead man switch. Come on, man.
yeah.
I was a bit worried about my amplifier.
It goes wah, not boom boom.
There is that, and there is that. I can understand there being a paranoia about trusting your any equipment to luggage handlers, because some of the footage I've seen, especially with like the recent issues that Qantas has been having, or not recent, after post-COVID, is footage of disgruntled employees throwing bags and whatnot. So it's just like,
yeah.
Do you really want to insure a $1,000 guitar or $2,000 guitar with these guys?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone pretty hefty on the cases now. I've got the that sort of, you've probably seen them around at gigs, those Enki double cases, where it's like a big road case and you can slot 2 guitars or basses into them, and they're basically, you can throw them off a fucking building. And the basses are fine. I've also got some mono bags that are quite good as well. They're padded gig bags, but they're quite solid. It's very firm. They've got neck support. And again, they can stand a bit of a bashing before the stuff gets damaged. So they're well worth investing if you are traveling musicians. I'm not sponsored. It's just, but hey, it could be. It could be if they want to sponsor us. But yeah, no, I highly recommend both those brands because they've been amazing, and it just saves you shit from getting bashed around, and you don't have to be like putting it down like it's made of glass or anything. Not that I throw it around like crazy, but
I want to kind of test it out. Like if you said you can throw it off a bridge, I kind of want to see just how much brutality it could take before anything gets broken.
Well, when I say that,
guitars
when
in
I
there.
say that, there's literally videos online of people putting them to the test and putting guitars in them and throwing them off a building and beating the shit out of it with baseball bats, and the case gets pretty scuffed up and damaged, but the guitars themselves are fine. So, I mean, that's
that's good enough for me.
was all the evidence I needed.
Hey, it was on the internet. It must be real.
Absolutely.
Nothing's been faked on the internet. It's all real.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. There really is hot singles in your area wanting to meet you.
Yeah.
Russian baddies looking for hot men.
Yeah. Take one home.
Wait, they're not real?
No, they're definitely real.
I've been sending money.
Oh no,
So-
your Nigerian prince best friend is definitely real. Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Okay. Whew.
Your money's being
All
well
right.
invested. Don't you worry.
That's a relief.
So,
I've got to say,
tell
the
us a
amount
little
of
bit
improvement I've seen from you, from y'all, is just phenomenal. I think I saw you at Iron Spokes, one of the Iron Spokes. Did you ever play that? One of the
No,
last
we
ones?
played Camden, but it wasn't Iron Spokes. It was it's always been a Camden
So
Sports Club.
it would have been one of the very first Camden Sports Club. You guys.
I think it might have been the very
Yeah, I
first
think so.
one.
Yeah, it was the very first one you all played. And the amount of improvement I've seen from all of you is just phenomenal. You guys have really come together as a band and really, really solid out, and it's a great show to watch.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
so what can you
Where do you see our new stuff?
Yeah, mad.
what can you give us about how did you guys come together and start making music with this group, and what's the background, I guess, behind the name and the theme of the band?
Well, I mean, it all kind of started when I had some mates and I was like, yeah, we're going to start making music again. And they all kind of dropped out one by one. So I was like, okay. Then I did the rounds online, found Blaze and another guitarist who's no longer with us now. He moved on to other projects. And then we got Mitch in as well. And from then on, I mean, that's how we just started writing music and thought, yeah, let's just see where we go with this.
Yeah, I had some songs already pre-written, and Art of Render was a drummer. Brought him in, and then after about maybe a bit less than a year of practicing and learning, we did our first show. We've had a lot of few lineup changes. I think Jake's maybe our fourth or fifth drummer. Mike's our third rhythm guitarist. We got one demo we did in 2019. We've started working on a single. Hope to do another recording by the end of the year. And the name was just something I came across, just means demon in Hindi. And I just asked everyone if they liked it, and they did. And we got a guy in, I think, America to design the logo.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how that happened.
That's mad. That's
So
a
it's-
mad name. I like to see that. That's a well thought out name.
We couldn't decide on one for ages. We were like
Couldn't you call
tinkering.
yourself demon?
I think we had like 60 or 70 names just in a massive list. And we were just like, no, none of these sound good at all. And Asura just came out of the ether. And it was just like, that feels snappy, tight, evil, and pretty consensus-driven process.
Yeah, I feel that. I've been through that so many times with bands, like trying to come up with a name and everyone's got all different ideas and it might seem cool, but then like, all right, is it in use somewhere else? Is it? And once you've had it, once you listen to it and think about it for a week or two, you're like, yeah, maybe not, maybe that doesn't quite fit. And it's just, it can be so difficult to to come up with the name, and then
you end up with a band name like Korn and you're famous and you can't get rid of it. Okay.
Yeah. Bro, it was a joke, I swear. Like, what are you?
Yeah, we weren't meant to. This wasn't meant to happen.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think Sorry, yeah.
Sorry, go on. No, you go.
I was just going to say, I think the name. I think the music's probably more important than the name. The name's not. Yeah, not something I wanted to think about too much.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Look, I'll run off the thing of all band names suck until you become famous.
Yeah.
And then the band name doesn't suck anymore. So, like, it doesn't matter. Like, do you think when you really think about it, like Deftones, like, let's be honest.
I just think I think as long as you've got something that is unique and searchable, you have to worry these days. You have to worry about search engine optimization, right?
Yeah.
Like we say it all. We said it all the time. Like Live, cool band, terrible band name. Terrible band name. Like how finding anything from them unless you go to their social media pages is a nightmare.
And you don't want to be in like a grey zone where you're like called extreme hamster fister and be like people start searching you and getting questionable material online. So
speaking from experience.
Yeah, I am actually.
Well, I mean that name, names like that can double. Although I'd hate to see what happens when you start to look up bands like Corpse Fist and
yeah.
I think that's where the dark web just automatically pops up, and you're just like, no.
Yeah, you end up on a list, unfortunately.
I will never forget the song title "Anal Prolapse Asphyxiation." Don't.
Oh no!
What?
I'm googling it right now.
Oh God, I've just eaten. I don't even think about that.
Yeah, so have I, and that's what makes it more exciting. Oh, watch the moment a corpse opens up and explodes. Right, okay, we're
wow.
Express.
Well, you've seen that, right? The thing that goes around every once in a while
explodes on a beach or something like that. That's pretty nailed.
Yeah.
If band names were literal, what would be the worst show to attend? And you just think like
Infant Annihilator.
Yeah, Infant Annihilator comes up.
Hosted at a children's birthday party.
Yeah.
It's like that redneck video clip all over again.
Ooh. Lovely.
That was a great video.
Right.
Clip.
So you mentioned so it was about sort of 2019 when you guys came together and were starting to demo stuff.
I think it was mid 2018, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
2019's video recording and first show, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, we had the that was in the before times. How did you guys utilize the time through COVID? Because I imagine that would have put a dampener on plans for, live shows and touring and things like that. How did you guys utilize that time for yourselves, or did you just kind of say, all right, fuck it, and then we'll come back to it all after, or like, how did you guys approach that?
Well, yeah, given the restrictions, we couldn't meet up to rehearse. Looking back in hindsight, I suppose we could have maybe done some Zoom stuff, but I used a lot of the time to do a lot of writing, so that was quite productive for me and for the band too, because we've got a whole bunch of new songs to use to play.
Yeah, well, I mean that's it's either been, it was a make or break for the music industry as a whole. It really separated the players from the stays. COVID.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of bands broke up. A lot of bands got together. A lot of old bands reformed during that time that had broken up and sort of reconnected. Like, it was a massive sort of shift in the industry that 2 years, especially locally.
It's just it was a strange time for everybody across all aspects of life, really. But I mean, for us, it was just kind of like everything just went on went on hold, and we all kind of did our own little things. So I know that anything that Mitch was kind of writing, I was trying to write lyrics for, or just kind of writing stuff and just getting it out there, but also using that time to kind of, for me personally, it was just a time to get back some energy that I'd lost after so many years of doing nothing with my life.
Yeah, it's just fascinating to see how everyone sort of different people and different groups sort of made use of that time, and how that, tried to, because look, I mean, I know obviously for some people it was just, just try and survive it, right? Like, it was just such a rough period for so many people, and it, like some bands were fortunate enough to be able to continue to work on stuff, and some bands kind of had to just a lot of bands couldn't. A lot of bands were just had to sit by the wayside, and plans got ruined. I know, like, one of my bands from back when I was in Sydney, we were planning a reunion show, and literally we had a rehearsal booked, and like we showed up at the rehearsal, but it was kind of already by that time very obvious that COVID was going to fuck everything up.
Yeah.
But we didn't know how long it was going to be for or anything. So all right, well, look, I guess we can't do anything right now. We'll just see how long this lasts for, and then take it from there. And unfortunately, it lasted way longer than anyone kind of anticipated, right? But as Kyle said, it really helped to separate players from stayers.
I remember leading up to it, we're kind of really gearing into this notion that we're going to start writing either like an EP or an album and start record. Oh, we had the material, and we thought we're going to record some of this stuff. It kind of felt like we're getting to that destination. Then COVID happened, and it really everything just slowed down to the point. Yeah, everything got postponed. And then we had that second wave of lockdowns, I remember, in New South Wales, and we just managed to squeeze. Was that the house gig that we did?
That was JP's kitchen.
Yeah.
We'd gotten that one, and I think we might have had a couple of gigs afterwards, and like the weekend of, we got news that like one of the venues had shut down in anticipation of COVID. And then the next week, it was just like, no, 3 months, got to stay inside. And that kind of killed a bit of our momentum getting back up after the first big lockdown.
I think we had a gig at Factory Floor.
Oh, that was after the first lockdown, I think.
Lockdown, yeah.
Like,
wasn't that for the first that Metal United thing?
Metal Line. No, it was just something with Head in a Jar and Scholar of Sin. I think Scholar of Sin we're putting it on. This is like 2020,
Yeah.
Very weird seeing a whole bunch of people sat down for a metal gig.
That's when the organisers were like fully, you have to make sure that no one gets up and no one moshes or dances or anything like that. It's just like, I think everyone was just happy to be outside and socialising again. So,
It got to that stage.
Definitely.
Got to that stage.
I mean, like, I know it was weird even for me doing, because I did a Korn tribute show at Crowbar, Sydney. Like, then I think that was one of the last gigs before the initial lockdowns in early 2020. And even then I was like, like I'm normally like greeting people that I know with a hug and like, how you doing? And that whole thing. But I was like, nah, I'll just give you a little elbow bump for this one, just because we didn't know how, like, we just didn't know a lot at that point, right? But yeah. So coming out of that, obviously there was a lot of writing through that period. And I mean, how do like I didn't get a chance to check it up. Had an incredibly fucking busy day. So how much stuff have you guys actually released at the moment? How
One
much is
demo.
out there for people?
One demo with 3 songs. Yeah, as long as we've tried. Yeah, for certain points we tried doing a recording and it just didn't work out. So we're at the point now where we've laid guitars down and soon to be drums and then vocals. So should have a single out in the not too distant future.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a lot of stopping and starting because we did have at one point we were kind of settling new people, new band members, musicians. Thank you. I do know how to talk. I apparently also know how to sing. Yeah, we were settling new musicians in, and then after, just as we were getting settled in, something would happen and they would leave or someone else left, and then it was like, okay, we've got to start the process from the very beginning, looking for someone, trying out people, seeing, teaching them the ropes, and it's just disheartening at moments. But,
Well, it does get to that stage. I mean, especially when all you want to do is, you got the material there, it's sitting there waiting to go, and everyone's keen, but it just one weak link in a chain can just really slow everything down. And I think what you have at the moment, because Jake being the newest member, I think that was one of Jake's first shows at Ram It Down.
It would have been a couple of shows before then, but yeah, he was still pretty new.
Yeah. Jake's first show was our first show that we did in Melbourne.
Yes.
Yeah. So our previous drummer, Gaz, his first show with us, his first show with us was at Chatswood, and we did the Ram It Down one like a week or two later. So that's probably the one like where we met you, and that's the first time you saw us. So I think it was about October last year, like mid-October last year, something like that. And then unfortunately Gaz had to leave us because he got restationed to Queensland because he's in the army. And we were fortunate enough to get Jake like a couple of weeks later. So yeah, Jake's first show was the Metal Invasion show that we did in Melbourne in January.
The Boogeyman Bar.
Yes.
Wow, so you just came straight out the gate, Melbourne, then you had the show at the factory.
Yep.
Long after that, then it was back to Melbourne.
No.
And then Queensland.
Queensland. Yeah.
We did have a Ram It Down sometime in the middle of that.
Yeah. Far out.
And then we went to Newcastle. And
Maitland, yeah.
Then we went back to Chatswood, and then we went to Queensland. So it's been like non-stop the last 6 months, and there's no sign of it stopping either at this stage.
Hey, that's fantastic. That's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Busy bands,
keeping it rolling, which is good.
Keeping us out of trouble.
Well, not you.
Oh no, it's not my fault. Trouble finds me. Yeah.
Okay, so you've got a single that's being worked on at the moment there, with like that's always good. We like to see people working on the new music. That's kind of the best bit, right? Like best bit is getting the new music and getting that out to people. It's always been one of the most fun parts about it for me, right? Like getting in the nitty gritty in the studio, working on those things. Is that something you guys are like recording and producing and doing entirely within house? Have you got someone that you're working with for that process?
Yeah, it's all DIY. Jake's doing the mixing and mastering on that. So yeah, putting it all together.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to see how that turns out. And
yeah. Jake's actually studying to be a studio engineer, so we totally have 100% faith in what Jake's doing at the moment. So
nice. Where are you studying
Jake?
at?
You can also just sort of turn around to the teachers and go, can you have a listen to this and give me some advice?
Yeah. So I'm at the moment I'm studying at TAFE in Ultimo, so like in the city. And doing a diploma of sound engineering. I've been personally producing my own stuff. I had like a massive dubstep phase when I was kind of 14 to 16. So I did a lot of that.
So like a week ago.
But so definitely was like big in the electronic scenes, doing a lot of like sound design and stuff, along with the mixing and mastering. And then kind of I was starting my metal journey kind of 12, 13. So that really kind of hit its peak when I was kind of 15, 16. So I kind of made that transition from electronic to metal. And so now I'm working on the single. And hopefully it turns out really nicely.
Nice.
How you find the process going from like electronic to sort of recording electronic to going into the metal side of things now?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because attitude and tonally, dubstep and metal have a lot of similarities. You want a lot of like aggression and grit and yeah, but in terms of actually working with it, dubstep, you know, it's all digital. You're making sounds in a synthesizer, you're watching waveforms, stuff like that. Whereas something like metal, you know, it's analog. You know, you're playing instruments, you're recording them into software. You know, you're processing them often with, you know, analog gear, stuff like that. So yeah, the process is very different. But
fair enough.
luckily, my diploma kind of has much more of a focus on that. A lot of the course is written by people who are massively in like blues and jazz and anywhere between like 50s and 80s rock and stuff like that. So there's a lot of that, you know, working in a studio with analog gear and, you know, recording bands and stuff like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, I did similar courses at TAFE at Narimba, at Quakers Hill. So I fully appreciate just how much those courses have to offer. There really is so much you can learn from those. So it's a great place to study. There's lots of practical experience, lots of hands-on experience. Whereas, you know, well, there obviously is the theory element as well, but you're getting so much hands-on teaching and you're learning it by doing it, which is great. Like it makes so much difference. Have you tried the speaking of like working with analog stuff, have you tried the Fredman technique for recording guitars yet?
No, I have not.
No. Are you familiar with the Fredman technique?
No, I have not.
All right. So basically you get your two 57s at 55 degrees. One pointed directly into the cone, one at 55 degrees. There's actually a clip you can get that positions them at that angle. And then by blending those two, you get like one really a much darker sounding signal and a much brighter sounding signal, and you can blend them together and they sort of phase cancel all of the bad frequencies. And it's a really neat way to just get a nice balanced guitar sound with very, very little work. Like if you get that angle figured out and you just have to position it like wherever you want on the cone to get the sound that you want. But it's a really great way to just avoid a lot of those harsh, difficult frequencies when you're recording guitar. So that's one to consider. Like I've gone to using that almost exclusively now for when I'm recording guitars, because it literally is just like slap the microphones in, find the spot on the cone that you want, and it's as easy as pie. Like you have to do very, very little work after the fact once you get those tracks in. I find it makes it really, really easy.
Yeah, it sounds like stuff that we've sort of done before. I guess they haven't really named the technique. That's something that is interesting in that course. Is you do often get a lot of like, because there's a lot of industry professionals that teach the course, particularly at Ultimo being kind of in the city centre. You get all of those studios and stuff with engineers who can come out and teach. And a lot of them are a bit older, so they're used to kind of the techniques of, you know, pre-80s. And more, I suppose, radio-friendly genres, because these are the guys who have made it big, so they're producing, you know, the biggest pop and country records and stuff like that.
Well, there does come something to say about some of the recording qualities on some of those things. And when you get those crisp recording qualities, it does make a difference. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm nothing but a fan of like a real gritty, that live recording feel where everyone's just sort of standing in a room and doing it all at once sort of deal, and everyone has to do it in one take. I love that. But now with metal especially, the production value is just making the music even better now, because you can take it that step further, because you can do so much more now in the studio.
Exactly. I'm going crazy over a band at the moment, Humanity's Last Breath. They're fairly big, but still fairly niche. They're in a subgenre called Thol. It's like super atmospheric, dark, sludgy, like deathcore and gent kind of mashed together.
Ooh.
And the guy who produces it, Buster Oderholm, he's just an absolute wizard. And I think the music itself is insane, but the high production value and the stuff they do with like the DT whammy pedal and shit like that, it just takes it to the next level of like gut punching. Like it's
Jeez.
so good.
I have a feeling
And is that
once
something-
Asura get on a roll, that it's going to be nothing but releases coming from you all very soon.
Mm.
And is that something that you're looking to do in the studio for this band? Is to have those sort of like some electronic elements underneath blended in with everything else?
I think for Asura, coming from a bit more of a like not classical but an earlier style of black metal, while still kind of taking the modern perspective, I'm certainly getting the sense that the record is going to be, we want to put the effort into it and have it nice and clean and crisp, but I think it's going to be a lot more acoustic instrument driven, so a lot more of that. The guitars do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, less kind of additional production elements. I think we still want to be able to capture the essence of that black metal kind of rawness, but also
not sounding like it was recorded with a toaster.
Yeah, we're kind of
yeah.
Well, that's the problem with black metal, man. Like really, if it's not a good recording, the thing just sounds like mud. It does, like straight up and down the line, like and you gotta and realistically, it can sound like mud live too if you're not a solid band as well. So it's got to all transfer through. It's got to be good live, and then when you go into the studio, you got to have a good producer, good quality recording, a good ear for it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just turns into a muddly mess. And I mean, realistically, with Blaze's 6-string, I mean, how heavy is that thing? Firstly, Blaze, because
probably like 10 kilos.
Jeez,
10 kilos.
Fucking hell.
Like,
because you play a 6-string. I mean, like, and that's the thing you play with all the time. I mean, and
yeah, I mean that's one of my lighter ones actually. Got a couple of pretty chunky little instruments. Yeah, I've got a 7-string back there as well.
What's that one that Stoya got? Did you say you have a 7-string bass?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I haven't seen.
Look at the size of that thing. It's massive.
It's a little bit more niche, but I can,
So, what's your tuning with it? What sort of tuning do you run with those?
Okay, so 6 strings, I'll run it similar to B standard. It goes like B, E, A, D,
GC.
G. I don't, not C on top of that. It'd be G and then B again. So I've got kind of like that guitar interval there. So I can do a lot of the open chords.
Cool.
But we play in D standard for the guitars. So usually I'm treating the 3rd fret as my home open string.
Okay, so you don't sort of tune that down. You don't go down a step on your tuning so that your like E string is like in D to be lined up with theirs, and then you go down to A or anything. You just...
I mean, I've considered the options of going A standard. Like, I don't value having an open string that much, though. And sometimes I can do weird things like, instead of having something on the 3rd fret, I'd just be playing like a real big open string thing. Like, I don't know.
Hey, look, whatever works for you. It's no judgment on my part at all. Like, I just
curiosity.
Like, I'm a bass player myself, so I just always look at it. All right, and I'm like, I sort of. It's far more talented than I am if you can have your focus be around, like if you're in technically a different tuning and you're still like working with that as the primary thing. Like, much respect from my side of things. Yeah. Because I know that's definitely challenging.
Yeah. Well, I can kind of do that on the fly. Like, I was using a bass 6 today that's tuned D standard. So, like, I can kind of do it on the fly. So I could be using something tuned in D standard and also the B standard ones. You know, kind of having to be aware of, oh, wait, this one's going to be a different interval here. So I've got to put like a F major guitar shape because I'm doing a lot of chords and just making sure that everything's being voiced correctly is real important. You know, otherwise, it'll just clash and sound weird.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Like, I love that there's like that much thought going into that, and in not just, you know, what note am I playing, but what voicing of the notes am I playing, because that is something that a lot of people don't give consideration to. And I think that shows an incredible level of maturity as a musician and an amazing level of understanding of your instrument to be able to approach it from that way. Because like a lot of people will just be like, oh, I need this note, so they'll play the same D note all the time. You know, they won't look at going an octave up or an octave down or whatever from that. They won't look at doing a chord. They'll just do the note, and it gets boring to both play and listen to, if you ask me. So there's it's I love to see that from anyone, really.
Well, like, I kind of put together my technique and my attitudes towards playing just as the need arises. You know, like, I think originally when I came into the band, I was using fingerstyle, 3 fingers. And as we kind of got more black metal focused, I was realizing, wait, I'm going to need to start tremolo picking. So, you know, started using a pick, had to sticky tape it to my thumb because I was still using fingers as well as pick. So that was the most natural way for me to switch between the two styles. And then after about a year or so, we lost our guitarist. He went on to other things. So suddenly it was like, okay, we've got the lead guitar. You know, Mitch is usually doing some sort of higher, almost melodic sort of pattern. So I was picking up, okay, I need to be, you know, doing a 5th chord or something. And, you know, then I moved on to doing full chord with the octave and then, you know, barring it so I could put the 3rd on top of that. And, you know, now I'm playing 5-string sort of chords. You know, it could turn into 6. I've got a 7-string here. So, you know, I'm just kind of, you know, treading a lot of ground that's not been tread before and just trying to adapt myself.
But that's really cool because that's going to ensure a unique element to the sound that you guys are bringing.
Oh, definitely. One of the first things I noticed, it was like, 6-string bass. I'm like, okay, here we go. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Well, the only other bassist I know that really does the same sort of thing that I'm doing is a dude named Nick McMaster from Crowless. He plays 6-string also with a pick, but he's usually doing a lot of the chords, and rather than doing exactly as the guitarists are doing, he'll also just kind of do it almost Tommy Iommi type thing where he's playing a counter melody rather than just the bass progression.
Yeah,
that's like what band Matt's Stoy in? Like he's a 6. What is it?
Yeah,
3
guitars. He's got like
three guitarists and a 6-string bass player.
Okay.
Yeah, he's had like the BTB 6, the BTB 7, been throwing those around.
Yeah. He's an absolute beast.
So, in addition to the single that you guys are working on to potentially release, hopefully this year, I'd love to see it this year at some point. What else have you got coming up show wise?
Sure. We're playing Mosh Pit next Saturday at about 8:30 p.m. and then the Chippendale Hotel on the 22nd of June. What
Then we
else? July. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was, I know pretty much all the dates off the top of my head. Yeah, so 20th of July, we're going to Maitland, play at the Cabin Collective again. And then we've got two shows in August. We're going to Camden again. And then we're going to Chastile, but actually I think Chastile's first and then Camden. I think Camden's the 31st of August. And then we're playing at the Rockdale Metal Fest in September. And then we've got nothing lined up in October. We did originally have something, but that show got cancelled. And then we're going to South Australia in November.
Hey, nice. Busy.
Good. Yeah, very, very busy.
There's a month. There's a month off to record a single.
If
I can give a piece of advice for South Australia, fly. Don't drive.
Yeah.
Don't drive. Fuck's sake. I think a lot of bands make that, but the first time they go there, they're like, oh, it's fine. We'll drive, we'll carpool, we'll drive. It's fine. It's not fucking fine.
Yeah. It's only this far on the map.
14 hours.
Yeah.
Straight.
Yeah, mate,
Through nothing. Through nothing.
There's that show in the desert in
Alice Springs?
No, where is it again? Broken Hill.
Oh.
Oh yeah, that one at the end of the year, that the Mad Max compound.
Yeah, there's one. That's going to be
Broken Hill.
2-day metal festival in Broken Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, it's not at Broken Hill. It's like 20 minutes from Broken Hill.
20 minutes, yeah.
You're out in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, you're in between there, bumfuck and nowhere.
Yeah.
And I just say, so I'm so stoked that they named it Broken Hill. It's one of the few places that I'm taking this from someone else's. This isn't my joke, but I remember it was Randy Feltface pointed out that it's one of the only places in Australia where it's actually named like for what it is. Like we had a hill, we fucking broke it. Welcome to Broken Hill. Like,
oh, that's awesome.
Very well. Well, I think it's time that we dive into the first segment. So, without further ado, let's jump into the quick question quarter.
That you
quick question quarter.
You could do so.
Welcome to Quick Question Quarter, where we ask our guests some rapid fire questions and you hopefully get rapid fire answers in the hopes of getting to understand them musically that much better. So we're just going to dive straight in here and you guys can go one at a time answering these. What was your first instrument that you learned to play?
So piano or recorder?
Yeah,
recorder.
Recorder
doesn't count.
Okay, clarinet.
Clarinet plays.
Yeah. I think I was playing E-flat clarinet in like high school and primary school for about 10 years and dropped it because I just could not be asked.
Fair enough.
Clarinet solo in the next Asura single.
Keep your eyes open.
I think I had like one of those, like you blow into a tube type thing, and it was like a little keyboard thing with a
slide whistle.
Yeah.
Yes, I know the one you mean. Sousaphone?
No, something like that. And then I had my little brothers, like he had like it was like these different coloured bells on like this round thing, and like it was kind of like a glockenspiel thing, and I'd play with that. This is obviously, before I discovered rock and roll and metal and stuff. So
Yeah.
That was pretty much my first thing, but it taught me, the different kind of notes on, how things would sound like when you, so.
Very nice. Who's next?
I've been on drums since I was 3, so that's kind of my thing.
Oh.
I picked up other things here and there. Like I started on vocals when I was 14. I picked up guitar when I was 16. But yeah, drums since I was, because my dad's a drummer, so I picked it up when I was about 3. Like he kind of just let me sit on the kit and play around and he taught me.
That's how it starts. It's you got to catch them early.
Yeah.
Catch 'em early.
Yeah. Nah, that's awesome. Have
Mitchell?
we had everyone?
No, Mitchell, what did you say?
Well, I said either piano or recorder, but
Oh, yeah.
Dizzy said
piano,
recorder
that's
doesn't
solid.
count.
No, piano. We'll take piano. That's solid.
Sam, I mean, Sam is, I don't know, Sam did an instrument before singing, but his voice is definitely an instrument.
Yeah,
It counts. Voice counts.
I've always been. Yeah, I've been
100% counts.
singing since I was really, really young, just kind of for fun. And then I just took it more and more serious as I grew older. I did try and learn guitar, but my fingers are not part work brain smart. So
Your fingers don't fing properly.
No, that's right. Absolutely shocker. So I just kind of stuck with singing. Always have been. Though I have been dabbling at the didgeridoo, but I don't know where that could come in to a metal album. So we'll see.
If you can,
you can make it work.
You can hit that thing low enough and get that real. I can imagine it. I can imagine an intro just with that real low didgeridoo hum.
I'd love to see what it sounds like with a pedal or something distorting it.
Yeah.
That sound awesome.
Brox, I was gonna make an intro for the album. We'll put it.
Yeah.
With the
intro, interlude, outro. There you go. You can make it work. I mean, look,
here first on BeerBuddy. We will be using didgeridoo in our.
It's focused around a drone, right? Like, so you drone is, there's lots of drone elements in metal that can be played with. There's plenty of cool stuff you can do with that for sure. That's awesome. So that was everybody. We've had everyone's. Cool. All right. Next question is, what was the first album that you purchased?
Not the Wiggles.
Metallica, the Black Album for me was the Black Album.
Good one.
Yeah. Back in 1992, I bought the cassette, and it was just that changed my life really, because I had no idea what metal was back then, back in the early 90s, and then everyone was talking about Metallica, and it was just like, have a listen to this. And then as soon as I heard Enter Sandman, like my life changed. It was just like, that's awesome. So
Metallica is what started it for me as well, but it was a little bit later. I came in, like, I'd always had an interest in music, but when like the film clips for Fuel and Memory Remains and Unforgiven 2 started popping up, I was like, it hit different. And that was like what started my journey into like rock and metal music more specifically, and everything that's come from it since. So I feel you on that one. I do.
Yeah, it's definitely, the Black Album is definitely a gateway album for a lot of people that are, on the fence about metal in general. Like, basically, you could be into any kind of genre of music and then listen to the Metallica Black Album, and it'd be all right for you. You know what I mean? Wouldn't be too harsh. You know what I mean? So
Metallica's Black Album was like Korn's Follow the Leader. Everybody had it. Just everybody, like, even if you weren't a metalhead, you still had the Black Album, because the Black Album was fucking mad.
Yeah, totally.
And the reason why they named it, the reason why they named it the Black Album, yeah?
No.
They said it was going to be just as big as the Beatles' White Album, so they named it Black Album.
Yeah. And it turned out to be true, because it's like they're pretty much their most top-selling album they've got of all time.
I think it was what at the time only the third album to ever get certified diamond or something like that, which is like 10 million copies sold or something. I don't know, something fucking crazy for the time.
What I find fascinating about that album is how many people bag it out, but yet it still sells to this day about 30 million copies a year on average.
That's why. Like you got to. That's 100%. That's why, because it's the same reason why rap, like in the rap industry, they hate it when people become famous. It's like you've sold out. You've crossed that line. You're not the everyday man now. You're the super rock star that's gonna forget about all of us. Like it gets to that, and it's such a shit attitude. Like you should want to see your fucking favorite band make it big. And
Yeah,
it feels like
exactly.
and people hold on to that. It was like, I was into them before they brought that album out. You know, I'm the true super fan. It's like, dude, who gives a shit? Just listen to the music and fucking enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But that's when it comes like they have this weird relation. They have this weird relationship with they think they have this weird relationship with the band. Like that somehow they are owed their fame through them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like you know, like to the people that bag it out, it's sort of like, you know, they're like, oh, you know, it's not metal enough, and I'm like, how is it not? Do you know what I mean? It's got chugs in it, it's got palm mutes, it's got distortion. It sounds metal to me. It may
It's
not
the
be
heaviest country album ever.
One theory I heard was they just did Justice for All, which is, you know, a technical album, but they were just struggling recreating that live, so they just decided to strip it all back and do stuff that they could easily do live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I
Plus,
mean, they hit the perfect mark. I mean, they were commercial. Like you think the range that that album had, it could be on heavy stuff. Some of the cleaner tracks could be on commercial radio. It just had so much spread, and it just really showed their chops as writers. Just to say, we don't just do thrash. Like we can do all this cool shit and appeal to everyone, and they did.
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
is why they cemented themselves as one of the greatest metal bands of all time.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, out of the reason Metallica is the biggest of the big four is because they changed it up, because they changed their style and varied it, and didn't just stay in the thrash lane. That is why they are the biggest of the big four, and the other big four didn't. You know, they still did great, but didn't do anywhere near the numbers that Metallica did.
Yeah,
so that's that simple.
The others of the big four got their fans through generational, like, here, listen to this. Metallica earned their new fans through doing new things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Picked up new fans along the way.
Yeah.
Anyway,
absolutely.
sorry, bit of a tangent there, guys. Sorry about that. Yes. Back to So first albums for everyone else. What did we have?
I don't know what the first one I bought was, but I've got some Peter Coon records when I was pretty young. Do you remember him?
Yep.
Yeah, the Young Einstein soundtrack. The first CD I got was Roxette Joyride, and then like a year later, like Michael Jackson Dangerous, and then a few compilation tapes. I don't remember what the first one I personally bought was though. Maybe
was Peter Coon that guy that sang Toffee Apple?
Yeah.
Was he that children's singer? Yeah, and he had like you know a number of songs like Meatballs or whatever. You know, I lost my meatball.
Yeah, as long as it's not Rolf Harris.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, to be fair, we didn't know back then. That's
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the 80s was great for that sort of thing. So that was all before the Wiggles, that guy, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I think I bought Metallica low, but one of the first like extreme metal albums I ever got was I can't remember if I bought the tape or they gave it to me. He gave me At War with Satan by Venom. And so yeah, that was sick. I love that.
Nice.
Who's next?
Yeah.
Yes. My first one was because I'd broken one of my dad's CDs In Utero by Nirvana. Pretty decent album all together. I think probably Nirvana's best.
I mean, there's a strong argument for that.
Yeah, I think it just did a lot more that hasn't been done a million times by pop punk type bands like the Pixies, as opposed to Nevermind, you know?
That is a very, very strong first album. Who's left?
Vox or Jake?
Vox, do you want to
Oh, I guess so. Yeah. This is going to show how much of a '90s kid I am, and
Oh boy.
it's aged like milk. But yeah, I got corn issues.
Excuse me.
Uh,
I think you mean age like a fine wine, my friend.
and
I will not have corn slandery on this. I will put shit on their name, but I will not have. Yeah, they don't make bad albums. Maybe except for when Head left.
I've still got it. And then the day after, I immediately went down to HMV and got Follow the Leader. And then I was like, yeah, okay, this is
That's a nice 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then from there, I just kind of progressed into heavier stuff until I had a mate show me. He was listening to this, and I was like, this is back when we had MP3 players, and what was it? It was Emperor Nightside Eclipse.
Nice.
Nightside Eclipse, and I was like, where we're going with this? Show me more. And yeah.
Well, that's like, I think I was into like, Metallica, and I think I've had a friend show me Slipknot, and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. This is pretty heavy. And then he showed me Cradle of Filth, Dusk in Her Embrace. And at the time, I was like, it's kind of a bit much for me. Like, and it went on to become one of my favorite albums of all time, I have to say. But it's just funny how at the time when you're getting into it, things that seem like they're too heavy or too extreme, and you just need to work up to them a little more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, acquire the taste. I
remember when my older brother was showing me Marilyn Manson. I was still quite young, and I was like, "What the fuck is this? The dude that sucks his own dick on stage and stuff like that." And it's just
took out a rib.
All this crap that you just hear in the playgrounds.
Yeah,
cut his dick off and put a dildo there.
Yeah, probably.
Went on Jerry Springer and dropped and had Jerry Springer's jaw on the floor. By how smart he was, he was just like, "Nah, this guy's right."
Yeah. All right, and Jake, what was your one?
Yeah, so I actually had kind of a few that hit me right at the same time. Probably my big step into metal. It wasn't the strongest start, but it was the self-titled album by Asking Alexandria. It's probably more hard rock as opposed to metal, but that kind of really started getting me sort of into that world.
Look, it doesn't matter how you get there. What matters is that you arrived.
True.
It's the journey.
But yeah, from there, it was Slipknot 100%. I bought 0.5, The Great Chapter, and the self-titled. Both fantastic albums. Around that time, I went through like a massive Marilyn Manson phase. Still, obviously there's a whole bunch of political talking points and things that we don't talk about, but yeah, certainly was kind of a massive deal for me, that particular phase, I think.
Can you imagine all those smug mothers that would have called up their millennial children after it just happened and gone, "I fucking told you. I've been telling you about Marilyn Manson. I fucking told you I was right. It took 30 years, but I was fucking right."
Yeah.
He is the Antichrist. I've always known it. Look at the evidence.
Oh, God. All right. So some really good choices, some really good first albums there. I really dig that. Next one is, what was your first live concert that you attended? All right, we'll go. We'll start with Mitchell for this one. Mitchell, what was your?
It's Deep Purple in 1998. My dad, my best friend, and my dad's dad. Eddie's dad. Yeah,
that's going back.
Shit.
That's a good start. I like that.
Yeah. It was Steve Morse on guitar. Yeah, it's good.
That is amazing. That's amazing. All right, Mike, what about you?
Well, I probably had seen like a couple of bands here and there, like that was sort of on a main stage, but I can't remember who they were. So I would probably say my first main real concert that I went to was 1998 Metallica on the Paul Retouring Me tour. But they did at the Sydney Entertainment Centre, and I'll never forget it. Just, like they started the show, you could see the flames on stage, the crowd roaring, and it was just like, fuck yeah. It was just like, I want to do this. You know what I mean? And like, it's just been one of my aspirations ever since that, seeing them live and just, witnessing what a proper, like a full band, like a, full famous band can do. It was just amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Blaze.
The first one I can remember was Cannibal Corpse, like 10 years ago.
Nice.
I think it was like 9/11, 2014. Bought the tour shirt. Very hard act to, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that.
For a first concert, that's pretty full on.
Yeah. Got a BSL for me, got my face punched. Good time.
Almost just like you went, okay, here's the deep end.
Yeah, jeez.
You didn't even ease your way into it. You know what? I'm just gonna what's the heaviest that we can sort of get to? What's gonna melt my eyeballs the first time?
That's crazy. That's nuts. All right, Vox.
Ozzy Osbourne, 2008.
Nice.
Gee, I mean, I never really got out much, but I had to see Ozzy, and I got a free ticket. And I know
free ticket, even better.
Yeah, I know he hadn't visited Australia in forever, so it was like, we don't know how much longer he's going to be around for. I need to see him live at least once. And as soon as it was announced, I was like, okay, cool, we're doing this.
Yes. Did you get out to the tours in 2013 or 2016?
Nah, money's always been an issue. So it's like, I want to splurge, but I'm too.
Fair enough.
I like to eat. I like to
I also
pay
like
rent.
food and having a rent over my rent. Yeah. Like it.
Yeah.
And Jake, what was your first concert that you attended?
Yeah, I mean, as people were saying, I kind of had a few things kind of beforehand that when I was very young, like I saw Paramore when I was 7.
Nice.
I actually got to meet them.
Cool.
There is a photo somewhere. There's a photo of me somewhere on the internet getting a hug from Hayley Williams. I have it on my phone as well.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's kind of my big fame moment. They put it on their website and stuff as well because I was like really little, which was weird for them to meet. So I got a bit of moment of fame from Paramore there. But the first metal gig I saw was probably last year. Being a bit of a young lad, once I got old enough to start going to gigs on my own, it was like COVID and stuff. So, the first serious metal gig I went to was To The Grave. They're an Australian deathcore band. Fucking brutal performance, dude. Like, so good. There was The Wandering, Melancholia, and Starve supported them, which, like, all 4 bands that night were fucking phenomenal. It was heavy as hell. It was just, it was awesome.
That's great. That's very, very fucking cool. All right, next one is, what is an instrument you've always wanted to learn but haven't yet? Mitch.
Maybe the lute.
The lute.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, hey, there you go. You got the intro right there. It's like clarinet, didgeridoo, and the lute. There you go.
And you have to dress like a bard.
Yeah, of course.
With a linen shirt open down to like fucking, open down to the belly. There you go. All right, Mike.
I always wanted to learn the violin because I figured I play guitar and I'm thinking violin's probably not that much different.
Oh, you could not be more wrong.
Yeah, I got one.
As a bass player who has tried to learn cello, I can tell you are definitely wrong. All respect to you.
It works on a curve.
Go for it. go for it. I highly encourage it. You will learn a lot about yourself as a musician, and it will expand your skill greatly to learn it. It is a whole different set of challenges, though. I've just speaking from experience there. It is, yeah. But
that's what Richie Black. I was gonna say Richie Blackmore did that before Rainbow, just to expand his knowledge of music.
It's great. It's great. I think knowing multiple instruments it adds so much to your repertoire. But yeah, it carries a massive set of challenges with it. That I don't know. You might be some sort of prodigy. I'm not. I don't mean to come across like I'm doubting you or anything like that. I just it's a very string instruments like that are very, very challenging in a different way to guitars and basses and other stuff there. Blaze.
Yes. I do own a cello, and I've been wanting to learn it. I did get lessons at the University of Wollongong Consortium for a good few months, and then life happened and kind of dropped it and forgot all about it for a while. I'd like to try and pick that up again.
Cool. Vox.
Yeah. Hey.
What instrument do you want to learn?
Oh, that. It was. Oh, I got the name down, but I'm probably going to butcher it saying it. The Carnix. It's a Celtic kind of war trumpet that they used to use to terrify their the oncoming armies, so the Romans would hear it, and it's just this. You can hear it. It does a very high screeching sound, but you can also do a very kind of low, deep, rumbling thing that is. It's very unsettling, but that's why I think I like it so much. But I don't know how much variation you can get with it.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
That's psychological weapon of war used by the ancient Celts. Fucking love it.
That's me.
Is that the really tall one?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of like an animal's head, and it's a massive kind of like pipe. You could probably make it out of plumbing equipment from Bunnings, but I want to get the real thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always jazz it up.
Bring it out for the show.
Yeah.
It'd be cool.
And Jake.
I've always been interested in the harp. I think that'd be a cool instrument to learn, is the harp. Yeah, serenade any future lovers or something.
You mean drum solos don't seduce women?
No, they do the complete opposite, man. You'd be surprised.
I'm a bass player. I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, I think it's the brutish, look guys, I can hit things real far. That just turns everyone on.
Wait till you can see what I do with my sticks.
This one smells bad. Don't ask questions.
If you could pick one big band or artist to open a show for, who would it be? Now, before you answer, there basically is no rules on this. So it can be big or any artist, active or not, living or dead, whatever point in their career you would choose. But basically, the idea is you get to open for this band, and then then you retire from doing music the next day. Who is the one band that you would want to have on that list?
Morbid Angel.
Ooh. Good choice.
I've got a real niche one. Igor Stravinsky. He's like a Russian composer from the early 20th century. First playing of the Rise of Spring literally ended in a riot because the music was so outrageous and the costume and ballet work behind it was just so off and weird that it sent people into a frenzy. I think having an opening spot for that specific performance, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to think like if that blew people's minds, what would black metal do?
I think we could probably, blow some fucking skulls clean open.
What are they,
If you and then be tried for witchcraft afterwards.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That's how every black metal show should end. Just big old winch hunts, burnings at the stake,
riots, blood.
Well, I mean, if you're at a Maruthan show, it just might. All right, Mike.
Yeah. Well, for me personally, I think like being in a black metal band, for me, I think the epiphany of like the top band that I'd like to open up for would be Emperor. I think that would be pinnacle for me, like as a black metal musician, to be able to open up for a band like Emperor.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Very, very cool. What about you, Vox?
Behemoth.
I knew they were going to come up somewhere.
Love Behemoth. There's this,
I think the first time I saw Behemoth was like I'd obviously knew about their music and listened to it prior, but I got to see them live at Download in Sydney in 2019.
Yep.
That kicked off.
It was like mid-afternoon, but they were still like the light show, the flamethrowers, the atmosphere that they brought was insane.
Yeah.
I have a massive amount of respect for them as musicians and performers. Great choice. Very, very crazy show there. And Jake, what would you pick?
Probably the band Vildhjata. Those guys, they're a Swedish. The subgenre is called thol. However, I kind of more broadly categorize them as kind of a niche of deathcore. They have a sound that's so huge and dark and yet incredibly beautiful. Like, I've never enjoyed disassociating so much than when listening to their most recent album. Just that sense of like sitting there soaking it in song to song.
What were they called again?
Vildhjata.
How do you spell it?
Vildhjarta. I think
there we go.
There
you go. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just insane. I think, like, I don't think they perform live, but if they did, I imagine it would be one of those events where the crowd just doesn't move at all. Everyone be standing there just like soaking in the whole show. I think that'd be killer.
Awesome. And let's one more question for everyone. What is your worst music sin? You can take that in any context you like. What is your worst music sin? Let's start with Mitchell.
I'm not practicing as much as I would have liked to, but that's something I can rectify.
All right, Mike.
I don't really know. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one.
All right. Well, maybe we'll come back around it. Blaze.
Buying too many instruments that I don't use.
Gear acquisition syndrome. Yep.
Yeah. Too many bass guitars, couple of guitars that I've got gathering dust. Very bad habit of mine.
All right. Vox.
Making up lyrics on the spot when I've forgotten what I'm supposed to be singing. And that happens more often than you think because my little brain's quite special. So, yeah.
That's great.
You're a person of my own heart. I love you, Vox. Yeah. I used to do the same shit.
Yeah. Yeah, Mr. Can't remember all these songs, so I'm going to invite everyone else up on stage to sing them with me.
One time I did that. One time.
One time's enough.
One time at Wollongong.
And Jake.
Probably intentionally combining very controversial mixes, particularly with drumming. I like incorporating elements of genres that people hate hearing. So like for black metal, I noticed the culture doesn't like things like kind of like mainstream like hip hop and trap that happens. Occasionally I sneak those things in there, or like as I kind of alluded to, I'm massive core kids, so like hardcore, metalcore, deathcore. I put a lot of that stuff into my style of drumming, both for my personal enjoyment and also a little bit to neg out the elitists in the scene.
To piss off the fans.
You gotta
Yeah.
You gotta make it
I hate my.
You gotta do what you enjoy. You gotta make it enjoyable for you first and foremost.
Well, at the end of the day, it's like it's what's got to separate you from every other black metal band, and this is the thing, you know. There's a lot of metal bands out there, so you got to have that thing to separate you from the fucking rest. And if it's going to piss people off, where it may piss those people off, it may other people may love it.
Yeah. Well, I was quite caught off guard in our Queensland gig. I had one guy come up to me and he was like, "You're a hardcore kid, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah." How'd you know?" He was like, "I could hear it in your drumming," and I was amazed at how well it blended. Like, it shouldn't have blended that well, but it did. That was a big like, "Oh, thank you" moment. Like, meant a lot.
You noticed.
Yeah. I feel seen.
And that's hard to do when you stay sitting behind all those drums.
Oh yeah. No one can see me at all.
Yeah.
It's just I'm merely a concept within the band. I don't exist. It's just
They're the most important.
All right. Love it. So with that said, it is time to move on to segment number 2, which is
Come on, if you want to fight, come on then.
Get in the bin.
Are you enjoying the weather there, mate? What? Are you enjoying the weather there?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for Get in the Bin, everyone's favorite segment of the podcast, where we do a round table and we ask our esteemed guests if they had all the power of the universe and could snap their fingers and eliminate anything from the music business, what one thing would it be and why? Let's start with you, Mitchell.
And why?
I think for me, it would be AI music, AI generated
AI music.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, it should be the music is the form of human expression. It should be made by a human and played by a human. As far as I'm concerned.
No, agree.
I don't know.
Is there okay? So I mean, obviously, like I've delved into various like AI music generators to toy with, you know, just sort of sparking inspiration and various things like that. But is there like specific instances that you are aware of AI generated music being sort of released and put out there? Or is it more of a future proofing sort of concern?
I think it's more of a future thing. It's kind of like I think the reality is at the end of the day, like in the future there is going to be more of it. But I think it's going to be like whether or not it's going to be accepted by other musicians, like, you know, by other musicians as actual music. I don't know.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, you know, like I think we all the promise of AI originally, right, was that it was going to do all the hard work so that people could sit back and be more creative and have more time to be creative and do all the fun stuff, right? And then we've seen it creeping into like the art space and the music world and writing and coding and all that sort of stuff, and it's just becoming like, you know, AI is being utilized to do all of the fun stuff. And it's like, no, that's not the deal. That's not what we were promised. No. Like we were told the other way around.
You're supposed to make life easier, not take the jobs away.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it gives a whole new meaning to. Obviously, everyone's probably seen Star Wars, right? You know, like in the original one, the two robots, they're walking into the bar, and the bar guy goes, "We don't serve your kind here." It's sort of like that could be our future. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it'll be
Where-
organics
Yeah.
only. If you're not
Yeah.
organic, you can't come in here.
Yeah.
That's what
It's
that's what
kinda
it'll
like
boil
that.
down to.
Until you get to Blade Runner.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
We need to
man,
hire
that's
people to
it.
find the replicants. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
until the sex
idiots
bots get
specialist.
AI, and then everyone will be on board with it.
Yeah, well, that's already.
I
starting to
personally love my sex bot. She's a beautiful.
I think to add sort of a slight counterpoint to that, I think there's a line to be drawn between the use of AI to take over creativity and the use of AI to aid it. There was a song that some guy did. It's called Plan Z, and it's Plankton singing a metal song, and it topped the rock and metal charts for a while. It was massive. And it was a really good song, and I think it was still very valid creatively because this guy still wrote all of the music. He sung the vocals and stuff, but he's just used this
Used it to
tool
change
is
the
like-
voice, right?
Yeah. So it's analyzed the voice of Plankton and SpongeBob and put it over the top, like used it as the vocal tone. I think stuff like that is really clever. I mean, that one in particular is very gimmicky.
Yeah.
But I think certainly using stuff like that to kind of add like a weird creativity element, I think is totally valid. But certainly the use of AI, if people are not only using it to generate guitar parts, but then also getting it to play those guitar parts, to generate just whole vocals without any work, stuff like that, that's where it's really like, okay, it's destroying the creativity. It's not being like a tool.
And I think there's a weird, like, there's definitely like blurry areas, right? Like I've seen stuff now where they're utilizing like a similar tool to sort of replace the voice of someone that's been singing with something else, but it also is combining in elements of pitch correction and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, okay, well, is where if people have accepted, and there's an argument of, well, auto-tune shouldn't be used because if they can't sing then good enough to not need auto-tune, then they shouldn't be. And that's a different argument, I think. And I have no issue with auto-tune. I think it's fine when it's used appropriately and it's done for, either intentionally as an overdone effect to give a certain vibe, or when it's being done to, just tidy up tiny little things here and there rather than completely take someone that cannot sing in tune and bring it in tune. So there's going to be, as with a lot of stuff, right? Like there's tools that are out there now that people are using to, quote unquote, get away with making music when they don't really have the talent or skill to make it without these tools.
Deadlines are a factor in that too.
There's this like nebulous kind of area where it's really going to be, a lot of debate about it for a very, very long time. I mean, I mentioned it there. Auto-tune is still heavily debated, and that's been around for how long?
Decades. It's been an issue. Yeah.
So they're definitely going to be things that are discussed for a very, very long time. But no, like that's fair. That's very much fair enough. AI used to generate music is a good one there. Who's next? Who's got the next one?
I was going to say illegal downloading, but that might be redundant if AI takes over.
Well, okay.
Illegal downloading, yeah,
it's
for sure.
valid.
I mean,
Metallica warned us, and now we're stuck with Spotify. They fucking warned us. They fucking warned us, and they warned us, and they warned us a million times and a million times more. And we all, and I was one of them. We all sat there and just went, "Fuck you, greedy bastards."
It was the right idea. It was the wrong execution.
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah. I'm sorry, Metallica. I'm sorry, Lars. We should have got you your gold jacuzzi.
You don't even have to download it anymore because most of the time the whole album's on YouTube now anyway. So it's like
that's true.
You don't even really have to
stream it.
legally download it anymore.
Yeah, to be fair, and with things like Spotify, YouTube music, it's pretty much all up there, whether it's the artist or the fans who've found it and uploaded it. At the end of the day, I mean, I don't know how much money these companies get, even if they're able to turn a profit. But when you hear stories about these bands who get 50,000 plays and only get $20 or something like that for the amount of royalties they get, it's just kind of like.
Well, when you've got artists like Snoop Dogg out there going, saying like Snoop Dogg at like 1 billion streams, and it was, not even six figures.
Jeez.
Like, that's disgusting. And when, like I did the maths on it, and for band that I was in, a couple of years ago, we self-recorded, self-produced the whole album, right? And so our only cost was getting the physical copies printed, right? That was our only immediate, like obviously the cost of buying the equipment and whatever, but that scales back in time and everything because I already had a lot of it and things like that. But direct cost for the album was getting it printed. And, I did the maths on what we got paid from someone streaming the album versus buying it. And granted, it's not necessarily a one-to-one comparison because buying it means multiple listens, but if someone streams the album once versus buying it, we get something like 15,000 times more money from them buying the album than from them streaming it once.
Yeah, well,
which is just like ridiculous.
Yeah,
and then they still cry poor, and then he still cries poor the piece of shit, saying that they don't make money. Come on, bro.
Yeah, Spotify's stream payment is 0.07 cents.
No, it went down to 0.05.
Yeah. It's really low.
And now it's gone. And now it's gone. Anyone under, I think it's a certain. They put a cap, so anything under a certain amount of streams, you're just not getting paid. It's just like okay, you can have the privilege of being on the platform. And then
that's exactly.
And I mean, look, as I've said it before, in the various many times we've ranted about these streaming platforms on here. Spotify has been around for over a decade now, and I think they still don't turn a profit.
Yeah.
If your business model doesn't allow you to pay the people that are creating the product that you are selling sufficiently, and you're not making a profit after 10 years,
why are you there?
Just give it up.
Yeah.
Give it up. Like your model's broken and doesn't work for anybody. You're not making money. We're not making money.
Something's not right.
That's the thing. At the end of the day, in any other industry, your advertisers are turn and run. Like you think about it, in any other industry, you'd be claiming bankruptcy by now. 10 years of claiming losses, bullshit. You got a good take. You got a good accountant, bro.
And look, I think that we just have to be very, very count ourselves lucky that the platforms haven't divvied up everything the way video streaming platforms have.
Yeah.
No, that's. Yeah.
Sorry,
they do so benchmarks.
The thing with Spotify is it's also very consumer focused. Like if you look at the subscription plan for something like Spotify, it's not super cheap, but it's cheap enough that if you think about how many people pay for Spotify, how much money that comes out as, and then how much money they have to give to each artist. It's like I don't want to advocate for like you should be overcharging users, but they're definitely going, we need to value the users over the musicians because that's how we make money. So they make their plan really cheap, which means they get less money to actually.
Oh look, from a consumer standpoint, it makes all the sense in the world. I get that. I 100% get that. You can buy for what Spotify is charging per month. You could buy one album a month, and in a year you'll have 12 albums.
Yeah.
Or you pay that, and then for the whole year you have access to literally every single song ever made.
Yeah.
In something that fits in your pocket.
Yeah.
Listen to 12 albums in a day.
From a consumer standpoint, there is no better deal. And it's unfortunately the business, if you want to talk of it in business terms, it has devalued music in the mind of the average consumer. So that the average consumer doesn't even think about music as having that much worth anymore. when they can access so much of it so readily for so cheap, the price of a song, that doesn't occur to them that there's a monetary cost attached to that. And there's no going backwards from that. Even if these platforms vanished, you would just see piracy spike. People would not go and buy albums in the numbers that they used to, because it's changed the way that the fucking people think about music. Musicians still think about it in terms of, yes, buying a CD, and they understand the value of these things. But the average consumer, the layperson, it's fucked up their brain around this stuff, and they just don't value music in the same way that they used to anymore.
Yeah, it's a shifting mentality.
Monetarily, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Would that also be like kind of have some part to play in why some metal shows like have poor attendance, because people are kind of like, we can just stream this shit at home. Why do we need to go? You know what I mean? Could that be half the issue?
I think it gives no excuse. I think it should, in theory, it should do the opposite. Since you're paying less to consume your music and you don't have to spend all this money to buy your CDs, in theory, music lovers should be therefore heading out to more local shows and spending that money. In a perfect world, that's the way it should work. Like me, I'm not spending so much on CDs because I use Spotify. I'm more willing to go spend a bit more money at local shows and buy merch and stuff like that to support the bands I like. Unfortunately, that doesn't resonate with everyone else.
And the other problem is you've got rising cost of living across the board, which is biting everybody. And unfortunately, going out to shows is a luxury, and not, and less people can afford to do that as often as they might like.
And now we've got the whole thing of venues are closing down left, right, and centre. They're getting further and further away from public transport. Public transport in Sydney is an absolute arse crack. So when you think about it, that $20 ticket that you're paying to get into the show, unless you're driving that night and probably fucking battling Sydney traffic on a Friday or Saturday night,
and parking,
your $20 ticket has turned into in excess of maybe to $50 to $100 if you're going to have some drinks, or even more. So then it turns into this whole thing of like, am I going to spend that money on going to a local gig, or am I going to wait and then spend that money on going to an international show?
Yeah, and I think more and more the audiences at metal shows is being made up of musicians.
Yes.
I think more and more we're seeing that, because the musicians are the ones that understand that they need to be going out and supporting shows. And I think we're getting less and less people that are going that are, just the average person, the lay person, the consumers that consumes music. Doesn't make it. But yeah, it's
as much as it pays
wild.
me to say it. Even you have a look at the Last Martyr. They got that show coming up on June 6th, which I'm going to. They put that on with 2 tribute bands. They organised two bands that do original stuff, but they're doing tribute shows that night. I think it's Linkin Park, System of a Down. Last Martyr are a full original band that are headlining that night. The thing sold out. Like
tribute bands, nostalgia still wakes it in.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think what needs to happen now, and this is why I try to get so involved at Ram It Down, is that the music ain't enough no more, man. There needs to be an X factor to get asses in the door. You need to have that thing to make people want to go, fuck, I don't want to miss that. And that's the big thing, like you can sort of look up on a Friday night anywhere and there's like 15 different shows at 15 different places, and the metal community ain't that big in Sydney. So once you spread that out over the whole thing, you've narrowed the crowd down by this much. And then when you put public transport, driving and everything else, it just adds.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Who haven't we heard from just yet with this one? Who still has to go?
Blaze, Vox, and Jake still have to go.
Yes, I'd probably get rid of like the exclusionary mentality that some genres can have, especially metal. Metal, it kind of gets seen as a genre for white guys, and like you're basically excluding vast amounts of the population from feeling welcomed into those sort of genres with that shit.
Yeah, and it's a lot worse in Australia than it is in some other places.
Yeah.
Like I can confirm, like 2012 when I was in the US, I went to the band that I was with. We went over there to record, and we also played a show in New York. And it really struck me that the crowd in New York was much more diverse along gender lines, and also much more racially diverse as well, both in terms of the crowd and in terms of the bands that were performing. It was vastly different to what we see here. And, I mean, I know New York is often considered the world's capital and is considered a very multicultural city anyway. So that possibly played a factor in it. But, I think that while it has been trending to being a bit more open, there's obviously some dickheads that are going to have resistance to that.
Yeah.
And it's not nearly happening fast enough.
Yeah. Well, like, I don't know if there's any sort of catalyst that could make that change more, like, rapidly rolled out. I try to be very open and all that, be some sort of person who you can see at a gig and be like, okay, I'm going to be welcome here because that person is getting welcome. Whereas, outside of that, I don't think there's any, sure, foolproof plan to be like, okay, let's get metal more diverse. Let's get more people interested, more people feeling safe and welcomed and valued and all that shit.
Yeah, I think there's a big part of it in terms of the bands and the lineups as well. That's a huge factor. I mean, I've been up in Brisbane. There's a lot of focus on lineups to to ensure that there's representation there. Not putting people on in a tokenistic way or anything, but just being like, hey, we want to make sure everyone's got a fair shake and a fair opportunity. I went to a show a couple of months ago at Greaser Bar, and it was, I think every band on the lineup had at least one woman in it, and the crowd was, I know there was also some non-binary people in the bands, and the crowd was very diverse. There was, non-binary people, there was trans people, there was lots of women there, and it was very, so there is ways to encourage that. I think it just needs to be the people that are trying to be accepting and open and pushing that forward. I definitely think they need to be looking and going, okay, well, if we're putting bands on that have the representation, I think that will help encourage people in those demographics to come out to the shows.
Well, automatically it does. You think about it; those people, like that community, is going to bring their friends, and automatically that's going to include, so by having that representation there, it automatically will create a bigger pool of that community to be in, and accept.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But man, I still don't understand this crap. I'm just like, man, but that's me. I just can't get my head around it. I don't give a fuck what you look like, what you do. Just come here and enjoy the music and have fun with me. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, it'd just be a meritocracy where the best and the most adept at making music, making experiences would be at the front and center, but there just isn't a lot of not like incentive, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's been, it's just kind of because it's been a certain way for a long time, and that's kind of it's it's been that boys
stereotypes are earned.
Yeah.
Do you know
it's
what
been
I mean?
that boys club for so long.
Yeah,
it's hard to break out of that.
Exactly, but it is.
And
as much as we would like to snap our fingers and have everything change overnight, that's just not the way the world works, unfortunately. But with every time that more shows happen like that, and just it's getting better.
Yeah, it's unfortunately a long, hard slog, but
Anything worth doing
we
is
all
though.
want to see it get there.
Anything
Yes,
worth doing
definitely.
is. No such thing as a quick fight. Like fights are quick. Fights are quick. Wars are long.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Vox.
I mean, so much has already been said already that I agree with and take in wholeheartedly. I don't know. Come back to me.
You're the last one.
All right.
No, I'm not. Yeah.
Jack, what do you got?
Yeah, probably just. I mean, it's sort of similar to what Blaze said, but just kind of conformity in metal. I think something that has really kind of irked me is metal has always been a way for people to kind of express difference and individuality. And so there's a musical and a social aspect to that. Musically, one thing I've been seeing lately is the band Sleep Token. They've become very mainstream because of their infusion of R&B and trap and hard rock and metal and all of these different genres. And so musically, there's that aspect because they've become very hated by some circles in the metal community. And it's like, well, why? Because it's not metal. Like, it's definitely metal. There's all of the characteristics of metal. There's just also other things. And then also socially, kind of what Blaze was saying, there's this very, like, white male centrism throughout the community. This expectation. I remember seeing there's this deathcore band, Brand of Sacrifice, and their vocalist sounds as brutal as any other deathcore vocalist. But then when people finally saw who he was, he's a person like African American, I think he is. He's a person of color, and people were like, "Huh? He doesn't sound like that." And I'm like, like seriously, like this person can be a deathcore vocal, like that's perfectly fine.
They want to act like God forbid hasn't been a band for the last 30 years.
And
Ice-T hasn't been in there, and Non-Point hasn't been doing shit, like Seven Dust and all these bands. They just want to be
Howard Jones when he was in Killswitch Engage.
And that pisses me off so much more because, like, where do you think rock and metal came from?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, rock evolved out of blues music.
Yeah.
Early rock was predominantly African American musicians.
Why did you scream down the mic at it?
And it evolved and changed and became a thing. What's interesting though is this is one of the reasons that I am such a huge fan of the explosion of metal diversity in metal over the last sort of 10 years. Like, I've always maintained that nu metal isn't a genre, it's a time. Nu metal, the new, what we described, that nu metal period, those bands that came out through that time, it was an explosion of diversity and blends and people doing metal in different and unique ways that hadn't been done before. And you've got bands in there that got labeled under nu metal. You got, Slipknot, Korn, Deftones, Limp Bizkit, Marilyn Manson, all these bands through there. Like, musically, they are vastly different bands. But they at the time at least, were all labeled under that brand of nu metal. And now we associate it more as being like a rap metal type thing is what we would often consider nu metal. But at the time, that's how it was looked at. And when I'd say nu metal, like, that's what I talk about, is that period of time. And when we're saying there's a nu metal renaissance right now, that's exactly what I mean. There is an explosion of diversity and genre-wise, and we're seeing artists like, Vana and Scene Queen out here who are really infusing a lot of femininity and sexuality and like R&B and rap and pop, like, hyper pop elements into metal. And and then culturally we got bands like Baby Metal that are infusing that J-pop stuff into metal, and and Bloodywood that are bringing like that, mixing that Indian sort of culture and music in there. It's like that I love that shit. I'm all about that shit. Like the more unique and interesting you can make it, great. Like, and obviously there's unique and interesting for the sake of being unique and interesting, which isn't always good. But I'm always about trying to find this different stuff. You
And it's
know?
awesome.
And I
It's
love
awesome
that.
when they take a cultural effect to it too, and add that metal flair to it, because it just goes to show there's nothing better than when they hold on to their roots, and they can expand on, especially Bloodywood. Like Bloodywood, I love. Like, you know, and it just goes to show you that even though metal, when you really think about it, is still such a new genre within sort of music and stuff like that, it still has so much that it can be brought when other cultures get their hands on it.
Yeah.
And I think
there's one
I
band.
think when you sorry, go on.
There's one band called Al Nemrut, Iranian black metal, and they use a lot of the traditional sort of instruments and also the vocal style of the like traditional folk music of the area, but they're using it also as a political weapon, basically to humble the establishment, the religious ethnostatism, because they're like massive anarchists and constantly fighting to put their music out there, play shows, even with the threat of being imprisoned for blasphemy. It's metal.
Yeah,
is a
those are
very,
the real metalheads now.
Yeah.
Those are the real metalheads, the real rebels.
Yeah. So like, conform to whatever if you really must, but rebellion and fucking fury at conformity is where all the most interesting metal music comes from.
It's you sort of go like what Jake was saying, it's like you don't need to conform when you listen to metal, but you have to do metal this way, and you have to look this way, and you have to act this way, and you have to think this way. And it's just like, how the fuck did that fucking happen?
Yeah.
Stagnation is death.
Like I literally came over here because I didn't want that. And now if I don't do that, I'm not a part of this community either. You guys can kiss my ass.
That's one of the reasons why I came into metal. Like I'm sure, like don't let me speak for you, Blaze, but like I'm sure Blaze relates to this. Like being I'm non-binary, but I'm a Satanist, and that's particularly poignant growing up in a very at sometimes alt-right, quite Christian community. I came here to break away from being stuck in a box. And so to step in a community where in some circles they're like, okay, but you need to be in this box now. I'm like, that's the complete opposite of what I was going for. I wanted to be able to express who I am. I wanted to be able to express anger at what I don't want to be. Okay, you can do that, but also you have to do this. Like completely defeats the purpose of what this scene is and the message that we're trying to communicate to people.
That South Park episode when the goth kids are sitting around and they're asking them to do the dance off. And they're like, and all the goth kids go, no, I'm not going to conform to you. But one goth kid stands up and goes, I'm going to be such a non-conformist. I'm not going to conform to you guys as a group. I'm going to do the dance competition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I know the one.
Yeah, exactly. So, but those are some amazing points. Did everyone go? Did everyone have their?
No, Vox is still yet to express his concerns with the music industry and what he'd like to eject.
Oh shit! I feel like I'm going to open up a can of worms, but
let's do it.
I don't see it as prevalent in metal, but then again, I could be way off with that because I can be quite selective with what I watch. But I guess with the general over-sexualization of artists and feeling like that has to be such a prevalent thing. It's like, well, they're not talented, but they got a great set of tits. So, let's make them famous. It's like, to me, it's again like a selling a product and not the music, not the emotion.
Yeah,
but
I mean, there's definitely an element of exploitation versus celebration. I think a vast majority of the ones that are getting sold as products, as commodities, are being exploited in that way, and it's become a lot more normalized the last 30-something years.
Yeah.
The problem is most of these artists that when it happens, they say that they're happy, they're more than comfortable doing it, blah 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 blah. And look, as long as no one ain't got a gun to your head and making you do that, and if that's the way you want to sell your art, look, I ain't about to say what you can and can't do with your body, but I do understand what you're saying, and it does really become a bit of an issue when you can quite clearly see that there are much more modest, talented artists out there that do not get the recognition, and that other artists will get there purely because they are.
Look, we Kyle and I were discussing this exact topic on a reaction video that we recorded yesterday. Not sure if it's going to be out or not on Metal Ruse, but head over there if you want to catch it. We recorded a reaction to the new song that Varna has released called Beg, and it's very I don't know if you've seen the film clip or not, but it's very sexually charged film clip. There's lots of BDSM overtones throughout. It's very that's a part of it, and I think that's what it comes down to. I think Blaze worded it perfectly in that it's a concern about celebration versus exploitation, and I think that's the core. I think that was almost the exact phrase that I couldn't quite land on during the reaction video. Blaze was that exact one, that exact mentality. So thank you for putting it so succinctly. But that's such a key point, and I think there's nothing for me. I mean, I look at it. There's nothing wrong with including that element of yourself in your music, and I think that, as we said, provided it's done because that's what they want to do, and I think that as long as it's not the sole selling point, then awesome, great. We've seen an infusion of that over the last sort of 10 years or so with bands like In This Moment diving into that kind of stuff, and like Butcher Babes as well, utilizing that element of their presentation to the band. Whereas I think in the preceding time frame, there was a lot of expectation that if women were doing metal, they had to look tomboyish in a lot of ways. They had to, tone down that side of themselves. I am enjoying that they're able to express that more, provided that it is their choice to express that and not them being forced to do so.
To be fair, if someone shoved a contract in front of me and said all I had to do was shave myself down and go and make a video clip and I'd get like $1 million, I'd do it.
I think
that's me. That's just me.
Yeah. There's an element to which as well it kind of plays into what I was saying, where like people look at female vocalists, like the one that comes to mind is Courtney LaPlante of Spiritbox. People look at female metal vocalists and they go, well, like metal vocalists are men. So as a woman, you're not really a metal vocalist. There's something else to that makes you interesting. Typically that's, a sexual aspect of that. I've never seen so many comments online on like Spiritbox videos and stuff where it's all just guys going, oh, I'd love her to dom me or something like that. And it's like, where's the attention to the music? You're just looking at this woman going, I'm not going to listen to the fact that she's a vocalist and an amazing one at that. It's I would bang her or whatever.
To be fair, I'm sure if you had a look at, I'm sure if Jagger had, if Rolling Stones had social media, like, and that at their peak, when they were young, I'm sure there'd be a lot of women saying a lot of shit to Mick Jagger and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Throw your panties on the stage.
But I think there's I think there's still that issue that is
It is.
unfortunately exists within a pocket of the community where women in metal are viewed as a novelty or a gimmick, which it's disgusting and it's shameful, and it's 2024 and that shouldn't be happening anymore.
To be fair, a lot of the women in metal now, mate, like have cemented the fact that I am never going to get back into singing metal. I will never have the chops that half of these women have now, because I tell you what, like, geez, the game's changed. Like, yeah, and I love the tone. I love the tone it's bringing now as well, especially like with the higher registers and stuff like that, with the cleaner vocals and stuff like that as well. It's just opened up this whole new thing. That we've been depriving ourselves of by keeping it so boxed in as a boys' club.
Yeah, there's no. Sorry.
I was going to say, one band I really love is called Crypto from Brazil. They're all females. Good, heavy death metal, yeah.
Good. Check them out.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you very, very much. I think we've taken enough of your Sunday evening, guys. Thank you so much for jumping in and spending that time speaking with us tonight. We very, very much appreciate it. As we mentioned, there's a whole bunch of shows that these guys have coming up, so make sure you get along and check those out. Jump on and follow them on social media. If you're on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Asura Sydney. I'm sure that's got the links to all the other places on there. And look, again, thank you so much to everyone for joining us tonight. We very, very much appreciate it. Thank you to my co-host Kyle, aka the Beer Buddy. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.
Peace.